Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking All Sports. As per usual, I'm your host, Zach, and on this week's episode, there's a lot of things that happened over the weekend in the sporting world. We've got some NBA action to talk about, some EPL action, Champions League, UFC, and some controversial AFL things to discuss as well. So let's not waste any time and let's get straight into it. First thing we're going to be diving into is the weekend review, and we're going to start off with the round game as we always do. We're going to kick it off with the Premier League. So over the week, Chelsea defeated Bournemouth 3-1, finally getting another win on the board for them, which they've been desperately looking for, trying to finish off the season in some good form, and they were able to get a good result and a good performance in against Bournemouth over the week just gone. Man City, they knocked off Leeds and won 2-1. In that game, Spurs, they beat off Crystal Palace 1-0. Wolves knocked off Aston Villa 1-0 as well. Liverpool, they beat Brentford 1-0 as well. 3 1-0 results. Actually, there's 4 which we'll get into a little late or pretty soon. Arsenal, they knocked off Newcastle 2-0, and the other 1-0 result, as I just said. West Ham upset Manchester United 1-0, which hurts Manchester United's chances of Champions League, finishing inside the top 4 with the likes of Liverpool breathing down their neck, and Tottenham as well, and Brighton, mind you, have a few games in hand and can still finish in the top 4. Speaking of Brighton, they had an embarrassing defeat to a struggling side in Everton, 5-1 at home. They lost to Everton. That's a massive win for Everton, who are trying to stay up and avoid relegation this season. It would be catastrophic if they were to go down into the Championship. So a very good result for them. Fulham beat Leicester in an 8-goal thriller, 5-3. I wouldn't say thriller. Fulham were dominating, and they played some great football, Fulham. They've been in some great form recently as well, so I think they're flying under the radar a little bit for how well they're finishing their season, Fulham, and I'm very excited to see how they go next year as well. Forest, they knocked off Southampton 4-3, which was a bit of a scare for Nottingham Forest. They need results as well, as desperately as a lot of other teams in that relegation battle do as well, and they were able to knock off Southampton 4-3, even though they were in control for most of that game. As Southampton, it looks like they'll definitely be going down to the Championship next season now. Feel free also to let me know in the comments now which teams are going to be going down and which teams are going to be surviving the relegation battle in the Premier League, as that is continuing to heat up and get even more interesting as we reach the pointy end of the 2022 and 2023 Premier League season. Now on to some NBA action that's been happening over the week. We've got some more playoff action that's been happening. The Lakers, they currently lead the Golden State Warriors in this Western Conference semifinals series 3-1. Can the Golden State Warriors do what LeBron did with the Cavs and conduct a 3-1 comeback against them? It would be quite phenomenal if the Warriors were able to do that, and that'll be interesting also to watch. The Knicks, they are trailing the Miami Heat 3-1 in their series at the moment. The Sixers, they now lead the Celtics 3-2 in their Eastern Conference semifinal series. They are 1 win away from getting into the Eastern Conference Finals. And the Nuggets, they lead the Suns 3-2. Like the Sixers, are 1 win away now from making the Western Conference Finals. Over the weekend, there was some UFC action happening as well in New Jersey. We had the Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo fight, which Sterling won by decision. Great performance by the current champ. He still is the champ, and it now looks like it's going to be Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Sean O'Malley the next time that Sterling will be fighting, and the next title defense in that division. That'll be a really, really entertaining fight to watch. And let's see what's going to happen now with Henry Cejudo. Is there really any more options out there left for him in the division? Does he go up a weight, down a weight? Or does he just call it a day and finally retire? It'll be interesting to see what Cejudo does now after that loss to Aljamain Sterling. Now we're going to be getting stuck into some AFL action. We had an action-packed round 8 that happened over the weekend. A lot of controversy, a lot of drama to unfold from that. I mean, every week there's controversy and drama, but this one seemed to have a lot of it. And it was mostly centered around the MRO. So we had Junior Rioli. He has been suspended for 2 weeks after his hit on Jordan Ridley, which saw him get concussed. Brad Close has been suspended for a week after he tried to get his dangerous tackle downgraded from 1 week to nothing. He is still missing a week for Geelong. Jacob Van Rooyen, this is probably the most controversial one, was given 2 weeks for his hit on Charlie Ballard. Please let me know in the comments what you guys think. I personally think It is ridiculous how he's given 2 weeks. He should have got off, but I'm not going to get stuck into that. I don't want to cause any more controversy. I want to try and, let it go. Let's try and move on from this. It's probably the last thing Van Rooyen needs as well, to be the center of this drama and attention. But please do, in saying that, please let me know what you think as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether or not 2 weeks was the right call for Jacob Van Rooyen. And Nick Newman was given 1 week for his hit on Lachie Neale, but was able to successfully challenge it at the tribunal and got it downgraded to nothing. So he will play this week. Now moving into the teams that impressed me the most, we're going to start off with Fremantle. I'm very impressed with Fremantle from their performance. Although it was against Hawthorn, they were able to dominate and own that game from start to finish. Hawthorn did challenge them in the later half of that first quarter and a little bit in that second quarter. But Fremantle's ability to kick away and take control of that game and put on a big win, which they were expected to do over at home, was a fantastic result for Freo, especially after their disappointing loss to Brisbane. I mean, they tried, but Brisbane were outclassed them by a long way. To see that response against Hawthorn and not take them easy and do the job that they needed to do was very impressive. I was very impressed with Fremantle's bounce back and response, and it'll be interesting to see how they go against the Swans this week. The next team that impressed me the most was the Collingwood Football Club. And the way it looks every week, they're just going from strength to strength, and they're showing the competition even more every single week why they are the best team in the competition. They are definitely the premiership favourites, and I wouldn't even say they are joint first for premiership favourites. They are definitely outright favourites. They are leading the pack. They are sitting a game clear on top, and so they should. They deserve to be 1 game clear of the rest of the competition. Only 1 loss this year. That was away to the Brisbane Lions. They look in cruise control. They've got all their connections, synergy, cohesion, all clicking and firing on all cylinders, and they've still got injuries to the likes of Jeremy Howe, Patrick Lipinski. I mean, there's Nathan Kruger plays an important role, Darcy Cameron. I mean, the list goes on. So Collingwood, very impressed with their performance over the weekend and just how they've been as well this season. They've gone to another level. I think most people thought they were going to drop off, thought they got very lucky last year, but they've proven all those doubters wrong so far and definitely are easily the premiership favourites and go into the most impressed for me this week. And the next team that impressed me the most, even though they lost, the Gold Coast Suns. And like I said with Collingwood, how they've really impressed me not only this week, but also this season alone. I think the last 3 or 4 weeks, Gold Coast, ever since that loss to Fremantle, have really, really impressed me. They're competing much better. Their attitude looks so much better. It seems as though their belief in their own system, the chemistry between the team, they're starting to click, they're starting to gel. They took it up to Melbourne over the weekend to the very, very end, and probably a lot of people would argue they probably deserved to win that game. They got robbed right at the end with the no call on Mabior Chol, Darcy McPherson missing just before the siren. I mean, people will argue Melbourne kicked 2 goals 6 in that last quarter. They probably should have won the game by more, but Gold Coast put themselves in a position to win that game and did everything they possibly could to win it and just fell short. So they've been really impressive, not only for this week, but the last 3 weeks. I feel Gold Coast have been really impressive, and they thoroughly deserve to be going into this category after I had them not long ago in the most disappointed and was really worried for how they were going to go this season. So kudos to Gold Coast. They're doing very well at the moment. They're in really good form. It'll be interesting to see how they go away from home against West Coast after that tough loss on Saturday. But they, for now, yes, definitely in the most impressed. Now we're going to get stuck into the teams who disappointed me the most over the weekend. We're going to kick it off with a team who played on Friday night, and that is Carlton. This is just very, very disappointing. 1 week they're in my most impressed. The next they're straight down back into most disappointed. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom for Carlton now. They're still in and around the 8 as we speak on the ladder. But that performance from quarter time onwards was pretty poor. I mean, down by 40 points at 3/4 time after you're still in the game at halftime. It's really bad. It just seems as though Carlton don't really have a system that is set up that if things go wrong in the contest that they're going to be okay. I'm worried for Carlton. I am worried. Right now they do not look like a top 8 team. Although that they're, it's not doom and gloom, like I said, they're still in and around the 8. They've got a few wins banked in. They're not playing their best, but they've got time to figure it out. I am worried that if Carlton don't seize this opportunity now to learn from the mistakes that they're making to start this season that has put this doubt on them by the rest of the competition, that they're going to fail miserably. And I know Adam Chera said them not making finals is not a failure. To the rest of the AFL, it definitely is. And I think to a lot of Carlton fans, it definitely is a failure if they don't make the 8. They've got the list to do it. They have the spine to do it. Their injuries are near non-existent. They've got a pretty healthy list at the moment. And I'm just worried that if Carlton do not take the opportunity now to rectify what's going wrong and take the opportunity to turn things in their way so that they can finish off the second half of this season really strong and make the 8, then Michael Voss's future is going to be in doubt. A lot of these star players are going to start thinking, when's this going to turn? Why am I still here? Do I try to go somewhere else? Things could unravel badly for Carlton after a lot of people had such high expectations for them and such high optimism for them that finally this year that they would make finals again. So I know I said at the start, it's not all doom and gloom, and I know I'm saying that they're in trouble, but based off the performance on Friday night, I saw a bit of both. I saw a bit of it's not all doom and gloom. They've still got it, but then I saw the worst of they are a rabble and they are in trouble, and I saw more of that unfortunately than the optimism on Friday night. So that's why they're in my most disappointed for this week. The next team in my most disappointed is the Sydney Swans, and even though I was all on Collingwood saying that they were fantastic on Sunday, Sydney were not. They were, the way that they disposed the ball was probably the worst I've seen the Sydney Swans dispose the ball in such a long time. Notoriously, they've been known to be really good for their kicking, kicking inside 50 especially. But Sunday it was horrendous. It was one of the worst I've ever seen Sydney kick the footy in my entire life. I couldn't believe the skills that were coming out from the wing, going inside 50 to the likes of Franklin, Laddams when he was resting up forward, Logan McDonald, and sometimes Collingwood weren't even putting enough pressure. Their kicking for goal was really bad as well. It was just really disappointing. I was really disappointed in Sydney. They put themselves in an opportunity to win that game as well and weren't able to capitalise. And I think, like, Collingwood were great, don't get me wrong, they were fantastic. They had some key contributors who were really, really good in helping them win. But Sydney, in my opinion, there was stages throughout that game where it could have got ugly for Collingwood and Sydney could have started to put the foot on the throat and run away with the game, but they kicked themselves in the foot and lost it for themselves, Sydney. So they go into my most disappointed as well. And to round out the most disappointed, I have to put the Hawks in here. That's pretty poor. Over the last few weeks, they've actually been pretty good, Hawthorn, with their performances. They've been competing well for such a young team. Their system was holding up well. But then against Fremantle, that was just not good enough. I mean, Fremantle haven't been great this year, and they were good on Saturday night. But I feel like Hawthorn could have at least put up a better challenge than what they did for that second half of that game, especially. Certain players were going missing for Hawthorn. They really do need leaders to step up a little bit sometimes. It's going to be tough. They're playing against Melbourne, who were not at their best over the weekend. Will look to be bouncing back this week. And for a young team who is definitely rebuilding and has admitted that they're rebuilding, that performance was definitely not one that I think Hawks fans would be happy with, and more importantly, Sam Mitchell would be happy with it at all. Now we're going to have a look at the Round 8 AFL Power Rankings. As you can see in the graphic, there was only one change. The Dogs going up above Sydney and Carlton due to their performances over the weekend. And even though they only won by 15, 16 points, the Dogs, for majority of that game, they were definitely better than the Giants. They were up by 30 points at one stage. And for the last few weeks, their performances have been very good. Bulldogs, one of the most informed teams in the comp, 4-1 in their last 5 games. So they deserve to jump above the Swans and Carlton, who were disappointing this week. Apart from that, no other real changes to the bottom half of the power rankings or the top half. pretty stable, but I can see a few positions changing in the next few weeks as teams who are pretty close to each other will start playing against each other and really cementing themselves as a top 8 chance, or definitely going to be finishing in the bottom 4, which will be very interesting to see. But for now, this is how the power rankings look after round 8. Now we're going to be moving on to Star of the Week. The 3 new Star of the Week nominations we've got this week, and I would like to mention a few names that are very stiff not to get a nomination this week, but you could argue definitely deserved. Brody Myercheck kicking 5 goals for the first time in his career. Marcus Bontempelli was unreal for the Bulldogs in their win against the Giants. Asava Radaglia was terrific for Geelong in defence against the Crows. Luke Jackson had probably his best game for his new club on Saturday night against Hawthorn. And then we had some individual brilliance throughout the Premier League, in the UFC, in the NBA, you name it. There was a lot of stiff honourable mentions that probably could have got nominations this week, but here are the 3 nominations, and in my opinion, they are thoroughly deserved. And we're going to start off with, from the GWS Giants, Tom Green. He gets his first Star of the Week nomination. He was magnificent in a losing side over the weekend. He had 38 disposals, 9 tackles, kicked 3 goals, 634 metres gained, which was the most on the field, 10 score involvements, and 14 contested possessions. It begs the question now, how many Brownlows can this man win? Let me know in the comments, how many Brownlows do you think Tom Green will win? And I think this is a pretty debatable topic now. Could he be the Giants' best player right now? I mean, let's not take anything away from the superstar that is of Toby Green and how amazing he is for that Giants team. And it's great that he's captain, but Tom Green, week by week, is starting to cement his case even further as to why he is the Giants' best player at the moment. But I would be very curious to hear your thoughts. If you think he's already surpassed Toby Green, or do you think they're still miles apart? But let's acknowledge Tom Green for how good he is at the moment. So let me know in the comments your thoughts, but he is definitely a worthy winner of a Star of the Week nomination this week. The next Star of the Week nomination goes to another player who played in a losing side, but boy oh boy did he deserve one. Noah Anderson, he gets his first Star of the Week nomination. He was fantastic for the Gold Coast Suns against Melbourne over the week. Just a ripping game from the young star who's becoming one of the best players in the competition. I won't go top 5 or top 10 at the moment, but he is definitely building up a resume and building up a lot of credentials, a good portfolio that can cement or at least establish his case as to why he should be considered one of the best in the competition. 37 disposals on the weekend, 6 tackles, 7 score involvements, 5 centre clearances, 17 contested possessions, and a goal to go with that. I mean, is he the Suns' best player at the moment? I know I said he's in the debate now for one of the best players in the competition, but has he surpassed the likes of Jared Witts and Touk Miller, Ben King, to go as now the outright best player at the Gold Coast Suns at the moment? That's another one. Let me know in the comments if you think he's already gone past them. I think right now, based on form, obviously he's definitely their best player at the moment. But when it comes to, if we were to go into next year right now, would we say Noah Anderson is the Suns' best player at the Gold Coast Suns? And the final Star of the Week nomination for this week goes to Josh Dunkley, who absolutely deserved it after his performance on Friday night against Carlton. It was inspirational from Brisbane's new recruit. He had 33 disposals, 11 marks, 13 tackles, 555 metres gained, 6 clearances, and 14 contested possessions. Chris Fagan said it's one of the best games he has seen a player ever play, and honestly, watching that whole game, he was absolutely heroic. He was a major factor for why Brisbane won that game and took dominance. He was prolific in the midfield. He's playing off Patrick Cripps at most times, and he was just absolutely terrific in helping the likes of Lachie Neale, Hugh McCluggage, Jared Berry, Zach Bailey when he went in there throughout the midfield, giving them a bit of space and letting them do what they want to do. But he was fantastic at winning the ball himself and then defending it, like with the 13 tackles, as I said. He was just brilliant, and it begs the question, is he the recruit of the year? I mean, has he topped the likes of Luke Jackson, Bobby Hill, Lockie Hunter, Billy Frampton. I think that's one that people are forgetting. Billy Frampton was recruited to Collingwood over the offseason. He's been actually really good in the replacement of Darcy Cameron. But it does beg the question, is he the recruit of the year right now? Josh Dunkley, does he edge out others like Sam Wiedemann and Will Setterfield, who have been fantastic for Essendon at the moment? Junior Rioli's been very good for Port Adelaide. The list goes on because there were so many trades in the offseason, but is Josh Dunkley the recruit of the year? I forgot Brodie Grundy from Melbourne, who's been very good as well. So, yes, let me know in the comments, is Josh Dunkley the best recruit of the year so far? Has he got that title sewn up? Or does it look like there are other players that I've maybe mentioned just now that are better or have been better recruits, or there's players that I've forgotten who have been really good? I mean, Taranto and Hopper were new recruits as well. The list goes on and on and on. But yes, let me know, is he, Josh Dunkley, the recruit of the year as we sit here right now? Now we're going to be looking at the week ahead, where we've got some round 9 AFL action to look forward to. It kickstarts on the Friday night. We've got a double header. Richmond will be hosting the Geelong Cats at the MCG. First time Tom Stewart plays against the Tigers since that infamous Dion Prestia hit last year. That's going to be fascinating to witness. And West Coast also host Gold Coast over at Optus Stadium that night. Now, I know it's a bit outlandish, Gold Coast firm favourites for that game, but I can see Eagles at home. I can see the Eagles at home getting over Gold Coast in potentially an upset, although logically I still think the Suns will win. The early Saturday game is a ripper. The out-of-form Sydney Swans, who are looking for a win desperately, are hosting the Fremantle Dockers. That could be a really, really good game. And also on the Saturday at 2 o'clock in Tasmania, North Melbourne take on Jason Horne-Francis and the Port Adelaide Power. That's going to be fantastic. I think there's going to be a lot of spot fires, a lot of feeling in that. It's going to be a heated contest. I cannot wait to see how that one unfolds. The Saturday twilight game, it's Hawthorn hosting Melbourne, and 2 brilliant Saturday night games. It's a pity that they're going on at the exact same time. It's Brisbane hosting Essendon up at the Gabba, and the Carlton Blues are hosting the Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. Bulldogs, like I said earlier, 4-1 in their last 5 games, and the Blues, a lot of questions are on them. They need to stand up. I've heard it is a sold-out Marvel Stadium again. Well done to Carlton fans for doing that, for selling that stadium out so many times when they get home games there. That's going to be a ripper on Saturday night, a must-watch as well. And then 2 games only on the Sunday due to a doubleheader on the Friday night. Kickstarts the Sunday action with Adelaide hosting St Kilda, another underrated game. I reckon that's going to be a ripper. Going to be interesting to see Adelaide forward line, how that plays up against the St Kilda back line, and then the midfields go against each other as well. And then the other Sunday game to round out round 9, it's the in-form number 1 team in the comp, Collingwood Magpies. They host the GWS Giants. Also this week, we've got some more NBA action, playoff action, as the Western Conference semifinals and the Eastern Conference semifinals wrap up. Will it be the Lakers, Warriors, Nuggets, Suns, Celtics, Sixers, or Heat or Knicks that will be going through to the Eastern and Western Conference finals respectively? Let me know in the comments who you think is going to be doing that. We've also got some more Champions League action happening as well, the semi-finals that are taking place, City and Real Madrid, and the Milan derby, Inter versus AC Milan as well. Also more Premier League action as the relegation battle and the title race continues to heat up as we head into the pointy end of a fantastic Premier League season. And that's all we've got time for on this week's episode of Talking All Sports. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like, and let me know in the comments all of your opinions on the AFL, NBA, EPL, UFC, you name it. I want to hear it all. Let it all out on me. I'll make sure I respond to all comments and take any feedback or recommendations in for the next episode. But like I said, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you guys next week.